For me personally, I feel like it's in my blood. I was always destined to be a creative.
It sounds like you have a lot of really deep and emotional experiences to pull from. My life completely changed, and I was like, yeah, this is it. What did he do to make them so mad? What?
No,
What?
And then after I graduated, I was like, oh shit, I need to go back to making art.
You have to be so strong and have so much conviction in yourself and staying true to yourself that nothing in the world can shake that. Welcome to Exposure Therapy Podcast. Today we have our guest.
Yo.
And as you can see, we have a completely different setup. As we go along, we're going to have more additions, we're going to up the quality and test out new things. And this is part of that. First things first, I just wanted to let her give her introduction and talk about what she's got going on.
Hello, it's your favorite baby duck, EO, and I am a Miami creative. I'm a model, a creative director, a writer, all around. I like to consider myself a strategic storyteller. I'm also the creative director for What We Carry, which is a Miami-based but international project that is meant to inspire healing within the global Black community. So we're using art, history, and mental well-being, right, to have important discussions. And yeah, excited to be here, excited to get into everything.
Awesome. So I want you to expand a little bit about What We Carry. Tell me about your latest project that you did.
Okay, so I guess the latest project is actually what we're about to do today after this. But so the most recent thing we got into is We Carry Each Other, which is a workshop series that's basically supposed to be about that very idea. We as the artistic community, as the Miami community, right, are carrying each other, teaching each other things, you know, spending time together. We don't really have many third spaces right now, right? Everything costs money. The economy is crap. We don't have the same type of third spaces we used to have, you know, like when we were younger. Mm-hmm. And so We Carry Each Other is meant to be kind of twofold. On one hand, it's that idea of bringing that community together, giving people a space to learn from each other. And then on the other hand, it's also a fundraiser because we're trying to have bigger conversations. And so we're planning for a larger event next year. So we're like, hey, show up, you know, take what you need, give what you can, which is kind of the slogan for communism, but you know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm neither endorsing nor denying, but no, it's very much that idea, right? So like, even if what you're coming to take, you don't care about the workshop, you're like, hey, I just want to hang out, we're here for it, right? And so we're doing those every Sunday at Neverland Coffee. And yeah, so that's what we lately got into. So that's been a fun time.
Awesome. And if they want to donate, is there a link in the bio? Is there anything?
Yeah, so our Instagram is @whatwecarry.project, and there's a little beacons link in our bio. So if you want to donate, feel free to go through there. Oh, excuse me. But also, if you come to one of our workshops, you can also donate through Eventbrite as well.
So yeah, definitely donate, help your community out. And I want to touch up on that a little bit, just a sense of community, because I've noticed that some people are starting to realize that community, especially nowadays, it's needed. Yes. And these past few years have been very separating in communities. And now we have a lot of people like, you know, like you, like me. Yeah. We're trying to create these spaces for people to come together. Mm-hmm. And we are at that next generation that is like, okay, something needs to change. Yeah. Something needs to happen. We need to start relying on each other and helping each other, because it can't be selfishness. It can't be survival all the time. We have to get everyone to a point of thriving, not surviving.
100%. And that does not happen without community. And I think, right, we had the pandemic, which, I mean, very much, I feel like that pushed us into an ultimate dimension. I don't know, but it really like threw things off in a way, because I think that's when we started to really realize just how important being around other humans was. Like when we couldn't do it, when it became selfish to, you know, hang out with your friends, like that's when we started to see, no, we really need to support each other. Like all we really have in this world is the people around us, you know?
Exactly. Compassion, community, it's all intertwined. And I tell people, if you're strong, if you have resilience, if you have resources, at this point in the world, it's your responsibility to do something with that. So we're gonna roll right into some questions for you. And what I wanna start with, I wanna know what made you go into the creative space. Were you born a creative? Did something just happen and spark your creativity and flip the switch in you, or what?
I will say, I feel like I was born a creative. I would say, like, I didn't go into the creative space per se. It kind of found me. So I've been writing since I was a kid. My mom is a writer, but even before that, so I'm Nigerian. I'm from this little tribe called the Ado tribe, and we're considered like having some of the best art in like African art history. And so I always like to think that I am an artist because of that like heritage. And of course, everybody's an artist at the end of the day, really. But for me personally, I feel like it's in my blood. I was always destined to be a creative. And so for me, like getting into it as of more late, I guess I kind of got caught up in that idea of like, you need to go have a real job. So I wanted to go to college for writing. I decided not to. I was like, no, I'm going to have a real job. And then after I graduated, I was like, oh shit, I need to go back to making art. Like, it just like, there was just something in me that was like, nah, like you need to, you know, you're not expressing yourself the way you should be. And so that's how we end up here, where I'm like, okay, there's the parts of me that are analytical, there's the artistic parts, and then there's like the community parts too, right? The part that likes being around people, that likes creating, that likes looking at systems. And it was like, how do we push all those parts together and like integrate into the self? And then that's how I end up here. And also with what we carry, I guess, like it's systems, people, art. And yeah, it feels amazing. Like it feels like I'm stepping into my purpose. So I'm just like, okay, we're doing our thing, you know?
I love that. I can kind of relate actually, because when I was little, I was always drawing, I was always painting, I was always making little arts and crafts. But then I went into the military and I was a welder, and then martial arts instructor, martial artist, all that. And I always had creativity in me. And I tried to avoid it and do it like here and there. And then, man, it just kept coming back and coming back.
Yes.
And I found through welding, like I started to make sculptures and stuff. And once I got out and I tried to do welding as more of like a 9 to 5, I was like, man, yeah, this shit sucks. Manual labor, all that. Like I had my handyman years. I did like stuff for like 10 years, like from the military to welding. I had about like 10 years of where I was just handyman and I was lacking severely in creativity. And then once I picked up a camera in 2020, my life completely changed. And I was like, yeah, this is it. Because it was just like a snowball effect. I did one shoot, over from there. My entire life just pulled me that direction. I didn't even need to wonder or think of anything. It was just, yeah, this is what it is.
And you know, I feel that it's like, again, it's that idea like you're not choosing the creativity, it's choosing you. It's saying like, you know, you dipped your toe in it and you got pulled under, and it's like, okay, this is your whole life now. And I feel like that's how you know you're in the right space, right? When things are just like, almost it feels like they're happening to you rather than you chasing them. Like that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm like, okay, like I'm just living my life and the things are just rushing towards me. I'm like, okay, like we're in the right spot.
Yeah, just go with the flow and you'll be pulled in the direction that you're meant to be.
Yeah.
So, second question. Who or what inspires you? This is a pretty broad question. So I take as much time you need to answer.
Okay. I feel like who or what inspires me, bro, everything. I don't know that there's one thing, like there's like, I'm thinking there's like a litany of things. I'll say first and foremost, my own experiences. I don't know, I feel like I'm a bit of an oddball. I have a weird view of the world. So when things happen, I'm also an overthinker. So
I know, me too. Trust. You see me setting this up. Like I checked everything like 10 times. So.
Right, but see, that's how you get sometimes to that perfection. Which being perfectionist is not always the best, but it does mean like you care. You know what I mean? Like when I go and I do something, I'm like I want to make sure it's done well. So then I also want to make sure I understand things well. And so, you know, my life is going on, things are happening, and I'll sit and I'll like look at this, like, let me look at it from this angle, from that angle, from this other angle. And so like definitely like my experiences, how like feelings feel in my body, like physically, I'll say is a really big one. Like the idea of having like butterflies in your stomach. Again, like I have a different perspective, I think, sometimes than other people. So when things happen, I think like I feel like I'm a bit of an alien. Like okay, everything on this human world is new to me. So like how can I retell this story in a way that feels visceral but otherworldly? And then in that sense, like past me, I think also of my mom, right? I always like say she's the reason why anything I do well, I like to say that's my mom, that's my parents. And so
Shout out to the moms.
yes, shout out to the moms. But no, like she's this, you know, lady that grew up in colonial Nigeria, right? And then I was born like 40 years later, and I grew up in America. So there were just things that she would teach me or talk about that made no sense to me, honestly. And then when I would start like hearing her stories and hearing of something that felt again like this other world, like I would just think, how do I integrate that into the world I'm living in? So it's this idea of juxtaposing who I am and where I came from with where I am and how I feel about where I am. And then of course there's just nature, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so sometimes I'm like, damn, like this world just, if you just look at things differently, like they become so much bigger and more grand than what we think about them. Like I remember being a kid and just everything being brand new and refreshing and like, damn, what's this? Like this is so interesting. And then getting into like, you know, the mundanity of adult life. And I'm like, okay, I try to keep that childlike wonder or hold things upside down. You know, what can I do with this piece of paper that isn't just write on it? Like, I don't know. So I would say it definitely inspires me.
I think Tyler, the creator, said, create like a child and edit like a scientist. So that's perfect for that childlike wonder, and then having a little bit of perfectionism when you do edit your craft. It works so well together. Maybe not super perfectionism, because you don't want to keep it forever and try to work. Making sure it's high quality enough for others to see it and be like, damn, like this person took a lot of time. It helps. And I really love how you take your own experiences and you draw inspiration from that. And it sounds like you have a lot of really deep and emotional experiences to pull from. So that's very admirable that you see the world so differently. I tell people inspiration can be drawn from everything and anything. I could draw inspiration from this water that's sitting on the table and just think of a shoe or think of a project based off that. As long as you look deep enough, because everything is connected at the end of the day.
Yeah, I like that idea, right, of you saying like everything is connected. And exactly, like you could take this cup of water, we're so used to it, right? Because it's like, okay, it's a cup, there's ice, there's water, but like you can really zoom in on like the singular droplet, you know, right back here. Like what is that droplet story? And sometimes I guess the perfectionism, the overthinking, they're not the best, but you know, your flaws can be superpowers. And so sometimes I have had to sit with that and be like, okay, how can we turn this into a superpower? And overthinking, you know, being so detail oriented, being focused on like the tiniest grain of sand, sometimes you find a whole nother world that is in that tiny grain of sand. And so I'm trying to do that, but also, you know, be a functioning member of society.
Yeah, definitely.
Not sit with the grains of sand all day, because you know we still got things to do. But no, I definitely feel that idea of like creating like a child and editing like a scientist, because I've realized sometimes like I said, I'm a writer. Sometimes some of my best work is just like a diary entry that then I started thinking about in metaphor, and then all of a sudden I have this story that helped me process my emotions and like see my emotions written on a page and not feel them so heavily. And now I'm like, oh shit, okay, now I gotta do a photo shoot. Like I was crying 2 seconds ago, but now I need a camera.
So what is the most important lesson or piece of advice that you've learned while being in the industry?
I will say the most important like piece of advice I've learned is really like the people are the priority. Like in anything you do, I know, like, you know, we have quotes like, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? But I've started to realize it's also how you make people feel, because you can always meet new people, you know, but what are you leaving in a room once you've stepped out of it, right? What energy do you bring into that room, and what do you leave with people? I will be honest, I'm a very avoidant person. People be like, oh, but you're such a social butterfly. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not a huge fan of people.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. So, yeah, I'll talk to anybody.
No, but that's the thing. I will talk to, like, I love stories, and I feel like, you know, stories are harder than people, right?
Yeah.
So I love, like, getting to know new people and learning about people, but sometimes I'm also like, I want to be by myself. And I have a tendency to isolate. So I'm like, okay, I'm, you know, realizing like that's the importance of community, right? Is understanding that in anything that you do, whether it's professional, personal, like how you make people feel and the relationships you build will be like what save you. And not even just like in a professional sense, like, oh, you need to get this position, so you need to know the right people or know how to talk to people, but more so like, you know, stripping back all this stuff that we've created, right? Like we created societies, we created roads and like governments, but like for me, I feel like learning also in COVID too was like at the end of the day, when death is knocking at our door, all we have are the people around us and the relationships we've built. And so maybe that's a little esoteric, but
No, but that's true though. That is so important, because people say go and network, go and meet people, but you cannot network when it's not real.
Yeah.
You can't make these connections when those connections are purely to benefit yourself. You have to go into a place that you're trying to meet people and do it with intention and purpose of building a connection. It's not a one-way connection that you're building, because if you don't provide the other person value, what's the point? They're not going to help you. They're not going to see you as someone like, oh, this person is trying to be my friend. They're trying to be a person that I could come to.
Yeah.
They're going to feel that it's fake. You're just like, oh, this is what I do. Hey, you know, maybe we could work with each other. Like, they're going to be like, okay, another person just there for my resources. Yeah. So I feel like that's so important, knowing how to put a sense of humanity into this.
Exactly what you're saying, right? People are going to tell it's fake. And I just realized, like, you don't have to be fake. You just have to be clear. You know what I mean? Like, if you want something from someone, be clear about that.
Yes.
But then also, like, I've realized, right, if you're going to ask someone for something, what are you offering in exchange? Kind of like what you were saying, right? Not just this idea to take, but to build community, right? Like, hey, I see you need this, I have this, and I need this, you have that. How can we create something that's mutually beneficial? Because that's also what community is, right? Is we're giving and taking, but I feel like so many people go into networking with a what can I get out of these people idea, and not a how can I really build something with this person that requires both of us to invest and allows both of us to benefit. So people are often going, who's the most powerful person in the room? And it's like, that's irrelevant, right? Because the most powerful person in the room has an assistant who's managing their calendar and who you have to get through to ever even talk to them. But then if you're thinking about investment, then you're not thinking about the most powerful person, you're thinking about the networks that person has, right? And how can you benefit that whole network, and how can you fit in, really, as opposed to like how can you get out. That's
golden. Love that. That's a really good advice for a lot of people. So going into the last question, right?
Okay.
So through all your experiences, through your inspiration and building community, I want to know, like, what is all this for? What is your goal? What is the end goal?
What is the end goal? That's a wonderful question, right? I like to think in like legacy. I would say I like to think of myself as a really small piece of the space-time fabric, I guess. And so for me, in doing something like not just what we carry, but everything I'm doing as well, right? Like in modeling and working on different shoots, I like to think in terms of what am I leaving behind for my descendants, but also the people that come after me. How am I contributing to like the history of humanity, right? And of course, history is written in sand. So at the end of the day, we contribute, but it gets written over. But for me, I would say the larger goal is just to create a container where people can feel like they can just rest, and where they can feel seen, where they can tell their stories, hear stories, and like really find a way to tap into others. So for me, I'm just telling stories, collecting stories, telling them, and building connections that really help people feel seen, I would say.
Gotcha. That's awesome. I think everyone should strive to leave a legacy behind. So that's one of my goals too. I don't want to just be forgotten in time. I want to at least last a couple centuries. At least.
You know the vibes?
Yeah.
Maybe even have a word after you. Like, I don't know if you... So I recently just learned that the term boycott is someone's last name from Ireland. Yeah, so apparently, like, he was just this guy that pissed off a whole Irish town to the point that instead of them trying to fight him, they just ignored him. Like, they would not sell him anything. So he had all this money. He could not buy anything. They would not... Nothing. Like, they didn't do anything for this man to the point he had to leave.
What did he do to make them so mad? What? What?
So this goes back to that idea. Okay, let me see how well I can remember this. So I think like the town wasn't doing too well financially, and so he worked for the landlords of the land in this Irish town, but the landlords were British, so they lived, on the mainland, or well, I guess the bigger island. And then so in Ireland, he's basically the person that's doing their bidding, and they were trying to raise rent prices or something, or like raise the cost of something, and the people here are like, we don't have money already, we're already kind of broke, and then on top of that, now you're trying to fuck us over even more? No thank you. And so they just decided that they were just going to ignore him. That like, okay, you can make our lives more difficult, you can plunge us deeper into poverty, and we're not going to sell you anything, because the people you work for live over there, but you got to deal with us here. And so that's how we have modern boycotting.
That sounds strikingly familiar.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of, some people...
We cannot afford rent. We can't. Something needs to change. Something. Boycotting works. It does. It sure does. I don't want to call any big corporations out, but some of them be hurting right now. So yeah, that was a very good answer. So very, very good answer. We really expanded on that one. So I guess to wrap it up, do you have any last things you want to mention, or anything?
I do, actually. I think in all of this, again, going back to that idea of really focusing on connections and not what you need, right? Like, not just like, okay, I need to get from point A to point B, but, shout out to the 48 Laws of Power. An important thing that I really got from that book was to always keep the end in mind, right? Not just like doing things to hop from point to point, but to like, what is your end goal? And like, outside of just being a creative, outside of what you want to do, in 10 years, what is like, like you were asking, right? What do you want to leave behind when you leave this planet? And I feel like that ties into your morals, your value system, and in anything you do, just like one thing I've started to really realize is like, being in the creative industry, it will test your value system so bad, so bad.
Yeah.
So many situations where it's like, do I want this opportunity, or do I want to stay true to myself, right? And I know some people, the goal is Hollywood, and I'm not gonna get too deep into Hollywood, but a lot of people that they get big, you have to make sacrifices, whether you're sacrificing your values, the people you care about, you like anything you do like that, there's always going to be a sacrifice. Sometimes the sacrifice is, getting to sleep in, right? You gotta wake up early because you're gonna have discipline about something. Sometimes the sacrifice is bigger than that. It's something that, again, your value system. And so I've just really learned that like sticking to my values is what's gonna pay off in the end. Like, there is no opportunity that is so important, that is so big, that like you need to sacrifice who you are.
Exactly. Because what is that opportunity, or what is that reward if it takes away you? there's no point in it. And I think that's so important, because I see it happen all the time, that people are just so obsessed with greatness and being remembered and being somebody that just has an audience. They want that so bad that they're willing to just compromise any type of morals, any type of standards that they have, and just do whatever it is. Let me tell you, I've had some opportunities that I've turned down because it's not who I am. And there's people that I refuse to work with. There's organizations that I refuse to associate with because they don't align with my morals and who I am as a person. And you have to be so strong and have so much conviction in yourself and staying true to yourself that nothing in the world can shake that. And I think that is an amazing ending to the podcast. That was great. You don't have anything else to add, right? I'll let you continue if you want, because this is great.
If you give me a soapbox, let me hop on my soapbox real quick. No, I just think I don't know, those are the type of things sometimes I think about, right? Like, I like to think about, who am I in this great scheme of things, right? Again, I feel like I'm this little piece of sand, but what can I do as this little piece of sand, And I know there's this saying, something about if you think you're too small to make a difference, just ask a mosquito or something. So it's there's always something you're capable of doing. And I like to sit in that, I might feel small, but I got big feet. So, we take big steps. But no, you really do have to think about, sometimes, people are oh, I'm just sacrificing this little thing, or, oh, I'm still who I am. And it's now you keep going against your set value system, the one that how you feel at the end of the day. You're going to look in the mirror one day and be damn, who is that? And one thing I'm just above all else, just to be authentic, because that's where the creativity is coming from, right? I think when creativity calls to us, it calls us to put our perspective on things. It calls to us to create in a way only we can create. So when we start, chasing after this archetype, and Hollywood loves a template, they love an archetype, they love a little recycle, put this in, spit it out, same thing, different colors, different whatever, different time, but this is what makes money. But it's when you really are a disruptor, it's okay if you're ahead of your time, like Van Gogh, he died poor, right? But we still remember him. There's boycott. I mean, I wouldn't want to be remembered that way.
Hell no. Hell.
But some of these words that we don't even know where we get them from, it's from people he made such an impact that he became a part of our cultural lexicon in a way that we don't even know who he is, but we know his name. We say it all the time. And that's, something about just being true to who you are. If you're real, I think they're going to fall in line. What's for you is always going to be for you. There's this saying where I'm from, it's I'm a Nagaon, and it's the water you shall drink will not run away from you. And so I like to keep that in mind. It's I don't have to rush to, do things at a certain time or in a certain way or take a certain, position or experience. I just have to move in alignment with what my set values are, what my goals are, who I want to be. And the water I will drink will always be there waiting for me at the stream. So
I love that. I love that. All right. So that wraps up Exposure Therapy Podcast, episode 4. Can't believe we made it this far. I mean, a whole month now. But it was a pleasure having you, Io. So I wish you the best of luck with everything. I'm going to make sure to share what We Carry's next project. And I'll add the link to the YouTube video for them to donate and get some more information about that.
Appreciate it.
So I will catch you guys next time on Exposure Therapy for episode 5. I hope everyone does amazing. Have a good one. Peace.
Bye.